Lovely, and now we're joined again by the main man, Richie. Richie, bit of a headache probably going into this fight week with a few issues that Dan's obviously spoken about. But how happy are you? How excited are you just to get the show going and to get all the fighters in the ring?
Well, I don't like to cancel shows. You know, myself and Mo Pryor worked together for a long time, and when we haven't cancelled a show when we've been working together, and I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. What I will say is, though, it's getting harder and harder. Obviously, the cost of everything's gone up in this country, and that includes timekeepers, referees, and board staff. And it's got to happen because not everybody can stay on the same wages, indefinitely. Unless you're a lawyer like my day job, in which case the wages stay the same as they have since 1991. But ultimately, the cost of living's gone up, so the cost of things have gone up. What's really gone up and what's really killing promotions is the cost of journeymen. There's a lack of journeymen. There's a lack of people that are on the road, and it really is sort of killing small hall shows. And ultimately, I suppose they've got to be paid as well. Cost of living's gone up, so I suppose the cost of journeymen's gone up. But the only way to recompense in terms of being able to afford that for promoters is to obviously put the price of the tickets up. So that costs the public, and it's very difficult to sell the shows then. But ultimately, it'd be nice to get this one out the way. It is getting harder, and how much longer small hall shows can survive in terms of this is difficult, because I don't think people understand that it can't go on indefinitely, because ultimately, somebody's got to pay the bills. Doctors have got to be paid, ambulances have got to be paid, security's got to be paid, venues have got to be paid, and we really need to figure out new ways of injecting money into these shows if they're going to continue. But it is, we've got some very good prospects on here. Josh Meli was involved in a fantastic fight in the last show that I was involved in, and he's obviously a very exciting prospect. Morgan Mcintosh is a great fighter. Didn't see the best of him last time. There were complications behind the scenes, but I guarantee you'll see a very different Morgan Mcintosh today. Jordan Withers, of course, is a fantastic prospect. And it goes without saying that he can go far as long as he remains level-headed. He's got a good team around him, and I'd personally like to say thank you to Sean Murray and the rest of his team, because without their input, we'd find it very difficult to run this show today, and I might very well have been in a position where I had to cancel. But Sean Murray and the rest of the team have been absolutely fantastic in supporting us with this one. James Todd. For me, that's the really exciting fight, because he is an incredibly talented fighter, not just in terms of his boxing ability, but what you want to see from fighters and what the public want to see from fighters is somebody who's prepared to put it all on the line and fight with grit and heart and determination. And I see that in James Todd. And, he's been out of the ring for a little while now, but that's not always a bad thing, because sometimes as boxers get a bit older and mature, their style gets a little bit better, they have a different mindset. And listening to people talk about Toddy in terms of what he's got to offer now compared to what he offered before, everyone talks about him in terms of levels of maturity and how different a fighter he is. So I think that this will be an absolutely fantastic show for him to showcase his skills. And I think I've missed one. Who have I missed? I've done Toddy, I've done Withers, I've done Carvell, Crocker. Well, the last time I actually physically saw Carvell Crocker was when he fought in the Abergavenny show again, Mo Pryor show. He ran that in conjunction with Kieran Gething. I did a bit of commentary on that. An absolutely fantastically gifted boxer, fast hands, absolutely incredible footwork. I think he stopped his opponent on that night. We started off with body shots, heavy, very, very heavy body shots. Very, very talented boy. And it's good to get them all out. It's absolutely fantastic to get them all out. So, I'm looking forward to getting this show underway, and the staff here at the Selwyn Samuel Centre, they're all working hard. We've got a lot of support at the Selwyn Samuel Centre, and it's a very, very good venue. Anybody that comes here says what an absolutely incredible venue it is, in terms of the fact that it doesn't matter, what level ticket you buy, you always get a great view. Obviously, if you indulge yourself a little bit more, you get yourself in a position whereby you can have some food, you can sit at a ringside table. But the rest of the seated positions here within the arena are absolutely incredible. You feel like you're very close to the ring no matter where you are. There's going to be another show run here June the 8th. And I think that's going to be on a slightly different level because we had a lot of pullouts in terms of injuries and people have had a few personal problems and what have you, getting on the show and staying on the show. But June the 8th, I think it'll be a little bit better in terms of who we've got on the show and perhaps keeping everybody on the show and driving things forward. Maybe even a title shot. It's always very difficult to organise title shots and, get the managers and the promoters together. Nobody really wants to put their fighter on an away show and risk an upset in terms of the fact that they could run away with the fight and then obviously the home fighter could be given the decision. To be fair, I don't think it happens that often in Wales. I think the Welsh referees are quite fair. Angelo Dragone was the away fighter when he fought Jacob Robinson, and we only lost that by a point. Conversely, I suppose you could say against Christian Tews, a lot of people thought he'd been robbed. But I do think the Welsh referees are very fair, and anybody who comes here, I think, gets a fair shake of the stick. And perhaps that'll entice people to come here and we can get a few title shots on, whether they be Welsh title shots or Celtic title shots. I mean, ultimately, there's not very many promotions running in Wales at the moment. Chris Sanagar's still involved. Nielsen is still doing a few bits and pieces in Cardiff. Mo Pryor is still involved. So, we're very, very lucky, but it's getting very, very difficult to put these shows on at the moment.
And we've seen, obviously, what Dan can do in terms of matchmaking at the Brangwyn Hall. That was a brilliant show, and tonight I'm sure will be a brilliant show and could have been an even better show. What did you say to people who are umming and ahhing about whether or not they should come to these small hall shows, when especially you look at things like the Lauren Price fight, all of the undercard pretty much on that one. A month ago, we're fighting in the Cardiff Vale Sports Arena on a Sanagar show. So what do you say to people that why they should be coming to your show instead of waiting for the next huge Cordina show, for example, that comes to Wales?
I had a chat with Enzo Mcintosh about this recently, and a lot of people are like, promoters need to promote more, they need to promote more. If you're running a small hall show, you need to promote more. And I think I've discussed this on a number of different platforms. It's very, very difficult for the promoter to promote. I mean, Mo put a lot of money into, he gave me £1,000 to put into promoting his shows in Wales a little while ago. We had a lot of posters produced. It was a Swansea show, and I literally put posters all over Swansea. It might seem a trivial amount, but we put £500 into a focused, targeted drive on social media, Facebook and Twitter. And the Facebook and Twitter drive, I think, had 250,000 views for people who were the target audience, the demographic. And of those 250,000, and Mo had a dedicated Twitter DM site set up so people could DM him and have tickets. And of those 250,000 people targeted, we generated 0 sales. Because ultimately, and this is what I was saying to Enzo Mcintosh recently, you look at Enzo when he kind of came onto the larger scale scene. I mean, Enzo was always quite a good ticket seller, but when he got onto the larger scale scene, then his ticket sales went through the roof. He was selling well, small hall show, very early in his career, up until about his 6th or 7th fight, because he's a very popular guy. But then when he took on, he was taken on to the Frank Warren shows where, you kind of had Joe Calzaghe topping the bill. It's very, very easy to sell tickets on that level because, everyone's like, well, I want to see Enzo, but you know what? Joe's on as well. So, it's double bubble and everybody wants to see those bigger shows. But it's very difficult to sell a show where you've got, for example, the local fighter and topping the bill, you've got another local fighter. So unless you have a particular interest in that boxer, you're not really super interested. Whereas if you've got a superstar top of the bill, then you're probably going to sell 3-4 times as many tickets. But it doesn't denigrate from the level of the show. And anybody, like you said, Dan has done the matchmaking for the last couple of shows, and anybody who's come to those shows has said how incredibly well contested the fights were in terms of the journeymen came to have a go. And they were proper fights. It wasn't a journeyman running around for 3-4 rounds and then having a go in the 6th or the 4th round. They were really tightly contested fights. I mean, Josh Meli's fight was case in point. I think he won by a single point, and he got dropped, so he really had to try and pull it out the bag. Casey Bradnan, that's it, yeah. And Casey fancied it again. He fancied coming here again and having another go at Josh. We had those types of fights, which were literally life and death fights. If you love boxing, and if you want to see those types of fights, and you go to a small hall show where you've got a great matchmaker who gets the right fights for the right fighters, and they're being pushed, you know, this is the place to come and see real boxing. If you want to see real boxing, come to these shows. If you consider yourself a real boxing fan, you know, and I've said this before, I think I said it on this podcast, you know, I mean, I went to watch Joshua versus oh Christ, when he won the title.
Martin.
Klitschko. Sorry, it's been a long day. You know, I went to watch that. I had a £450 ticket. I was about 1.5 football pitches away. I had a diamond level ticket, 450 quid, and I watched it on the big screen. You know, the undercard was pretty good, but, you know, I don't think there was the level, aside from the headline show, I don't think there was a level of excitement that, you know, we generated at the Brangwyn. If you're a boxing fan, come and watch, you know, grassroots boxing. Come and watch small hall show boxing. You know, you think you're a fan. All these people, they turn up, oh, I want to see AJ, I want to see AJ. You know, there's 1,000 women who want to go there and throw their knickers at him from the front ring. You know, they're not boxing fans. You know, 50% of the arena is filled with casuals. You know, the other 40% are filled by people who just want to be there, seen there with his mates, so they can say they watched AJ in Cardiff or Wembley or wherever. And then you've got a hardcore of 10% of the fans who are real fans. If you're a real fan, get here, watch the fights. If you've got a good matchmaker, you will have an incredible show for 1/10 of the ticket price. 1/10. You know, everyone says, oh, I can't really afford 50 quid for a ticket, and yet they'll pay 10 times that to watch, you know, somebody fight in Wembley so they can watch it on a screen. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. But you know, vote with your feet and get here. Simple as that.
Perfect. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.